Chapter 5 Trouble in the Great Starbright City. Austin walked over the golden bricks of the massive bridge that stretched from the east coast of Darnish City to the west coast of Starbright City. The bridge was separated into 3 parts. In the center there was the road, and on both sides there were sidewalks. Since there were no cars traveling on the bridge today, Austin walked through the center of the bridge. The light morning breeze swept steadily through the fresh air. Austin yawned slightly since his night's sleep wasn't as comfortable as he had hoped. He continued walking across the abandoned bridge. He thought for a while about how great it would be to save the princess and capture her love. He then began to fall into the pits of a deep daydream. He saw himself fighting the evil villain and then saving Princess Alexis. Then he saw Alexis and him attending the Starbright ball together. Then came marriage, but before the wedding ceremony was over and they were united in holy matrimony, a voice interrupted. "Sorry, can't pass," the interrupting voice announced. Austin snapped out of his daydream stage and stared at the short man whose voice had interrupted his fake marriage ceremony. Apparently, while he had dreamt of his future, he had reached the gate to Starbright City. "Excuse me?" Austin asked. "I said you can't pass into Starbright City." "And why can't I?" Austin responded. "The city has been closed to humans and Starbrights." "What for?" "It's because of the conflict. You know, the conflict of the princess." "And?" "Well, nobody can enter the city because of the conflict." "Well, I'm Austin Oxley. You know, son of Jeffrey Oxley, and I was told to save Princess Alexis." "Oh, well, sorry, Mr. Oxley." "You're not gonna let me in?" "Of course I'm gonna let you in. You're Austin Oxley, son of Jeffrey Oxley. Sorry for the delay." The man took out a key and unlocked the gate. "Farewell, Mr. Oxley, son of Mr. Oxley." "Okay, thanks." Austin entered through the gate and the smell of smoke clouded the fresh air and tickled his nose. At first he thought it was him because half of the people at the hotel breakfast were smoking. Then the smell grew stronger. He could barely see before him and his eyes began to burn. He started to cough as he walked through a thick cloud of smoke. He began to panic as he saw fire through the smog. He rushed toward the source of the fire, which was a small roadside market. There was a firefighter and his team hooking up hoses to the fire hydrant, which was placed a few feet from the market. "Excuse me, is there any way I can help you guys put out the fire?" Austin asked. "What are you doing here, skinny boy?" You better get out of here before you get hurt. Are you aware the city has been closed?" "I realize that, but I'm Austin Oxley, and I was told to save Princess Alexis. Do you guys need help?" "Oh, now I see it. I kind of see some traits from Jeff in you, kid. But no, we don't need any help. Thanks for asking, though. You just focus on getting over to the princess. Don't worry about the fires. We'll get them," the fireman said. Austin walked down the almost invisible street that was filled with piles of rubble and debris. Almost every building that ran down the sides of the street was burning. He was about to turn back and ask the fireman why the buildings were burning, but then he glanced at one of the remaining clocks on the outside of the clock store and figured he should keep moving. Austin continued walking down the road as the sun began to settle in the center of the sky. He took a few sentences to ponder at the beauty of the buildings that had not been affected by the flames. The beautiful buildings stood triumphantly out of the ground with their stained glass windows that were framed with pure gold. Above the windows and the white outside frame of the walls stood large glass arched rooftops that sparkled in the sunlight. At the very tip of the arched roof stood a diamond sculpture of a Starbright that glistened in the afternoon sun. He imagined himself living in the beautiful buildings and being treated with absolute royalty. As he dreamed of the royal treatments, the fires continued further behind him. Boom! Crash! Suddenly, a huge building exploded, sending flames in every direction. Austin snapped out of his dream stage once again and dropped to the ground, covering his neck with his arms, protecting himself from the chunks of glass that were sent into the streets from the rooftop. When he managed to get up again without any injuries, loud noises began to erupt from the base of the building that exploded into flames. Crack! The once marvelous building began to stumble in its place. Oh, I guess that was creak. Creak! The bottom supports, which were placed in the basement corridors, began to malfunction and forced the building to collapse. The entire 4 floors of the building plummeted toward the street where Austin stood. He quickly pulled out his sword and flew into the air, dodging the great destruction the building had caused. Back on the ground, he began to sprint, for he was nervous that more buildings would collapse. He continued to sprint down the street and stopped at the point where all the streets of the island collided to form Starbright Square. He gazed at the beauty of the buildings that formed Starbright Square. The chains of buildings ended at the base of the 2 buildings that supported the greatest structure of Starbright City, the Starbright Clock Tower. The buildings were topped by great maroon The buildings were topped by great maroon rooftops with golden structures of Starbright as at the peaks. Wow, the buildings were topped by great maroon rooftops with golden structures of Starbrights at the peaks. The clock was encrusted with pure gold and was equipped with diamond hands to tell the time. Every square inch of the glass surface was cleaned and scrubbed every other day to keep it as clear as possible. The majestic clock tower had caught Austin's attention so swiftly that he could barely get the beautiful image out of his mind. But he had to continue on with his quest and walked out of Starbright Square. The road that showed the gate to Alexis's kingdom at the end of it led Austin out of the smoggy air of the city. He walked down the street and approached the exit out of the burning city. All right.